I'm David Lopez, and I'm the Crisis Line Director for the Central Valley Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Been with the company for just about 10 years, just shy of that.
My name is Angela Cuevas Peña. I am currently the program supervisor here with the Central Valley Suicide Prevention Hotline with Kingsview. In December, the end of December, I will have been here 5 years.
Yeah, my name is Pete Daniels. I'm a suicide intervention specialist. I've been here a little bit over 1 year. I was hired right before the 988 program was initiated. I'd had experience in this before, so I was brought on to assist with the transition.
So I actually started off in mobile crisis units, actually here with Kingsview. Aside from that, I was working at Exodus in the actual the crisis stabilization unit, and I worked there for about 5 years. And in that period of time, this opportunity came up, and I was able to come into this position, and I've been with this program for like the past 6 years, almost, yeah.
But I was really nervous. I was really skeptical, and I was like, I had lost 2 uncles to suicide, and I had a cousin who's 2 years younger than me who's, battled with the ideation and with self-harming behaviors. And so I was very scared. And just kind of coming from a Hispanic background, it's something that, how am I going to go talk about this? How am I going to go help people with this? Like what, I was very skeptical. But I decided to just take that leap of faith, and he called me in for an interview, and I was like, well, it doesn't hurt to try. Let me just see what the program is actually about, because I hadn't even heard of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline.
I worked with veterans with traumatic brain injuries, and also worked with athletes with traumatic brain injuries, but also with suicidality. And I worked on the psychiatric emergency response teams in San Diego.
So I went, I interviewed with him, and just all of the things that he talked about, the call center and what was to come of it, I was like, maybe I can do this. My main aspect about me is I really just wanted to help people. And so I was like, okay, if he says he can train me, him and his leads, give us a skill set that we can use. And I was like, maybe I can go somewhere with this.
I'm very thankful and proud that we have a team that has a very diverse backgrounds. And understanding that forming a team that is actually representative of the community that we serve. And so there's so many different cultures and races that are in the Central Valley. So you want to have a team that's reflective of that. And as a team congeals, we learn from each other on individuals' customs and cultures and practices and thoughts, and that is organic. And that's just a beautiful part of it. So.
Yeah, you get people from all walks of life calling. You get people who have something very major that has happened in their life, and they've been holding on to it for a long time, and it's just reached a head, and they've finally reached out to the point where they're going to call and and allow someone into their world for a few minutes to be able to deal with it with them. And then you're going to get somebody who may have just decided, they woke up one morning and decide they just don't want to live anymore. Get calls like that as well. They can't put a finger on it. They can't tell us why it happened. They can't tell us what triggered it. They can just tell us, why they think they feel that way and what's going on in their life right now.
I think the neat thing about us being back in the call center, although working remote was nice, being back in the call center, it really allows for that space that once you get off a call, or if you're having trouble on a call, you can kind of turn to your fellow responder and, hey, this person just told me this, like, what should I do? Or even just getting off that call, like, wow, that was kind of heavy. They shared this and this with me, and maybe it's making me feel a certain type of way. So really, it's just allowing them to unpack with each other.
When you work in crisis response, like, it's really a continuum of care. When you think of the mobile crisis response or that team, that part is, we're dispatched, or that team is dispatched through 911. So someone's calling in, they're having a very difficult day. It got to the point where the family, either themselves, were in such a crisis, or the situation got so bleak that they reached out for emergency help. And as you're hearing their story, most of the time, if you spend the time and you listen, there's obviously things that got them to this crisis point, and at the same time, there's still potential hope for a better tomorrow. And if you can work that, you could potentially de-escalate that situation, which is a best practice, instead of having to actually send them to the hospital.
I think there's a misconception out there that if people call 988, that we're going to put them in the hospital. And people might want to, anybody who works for Kingsview that has that misconception or is working around someone or knows someone or their clients that have that misconception, I can tell you that's the last thing that I want to do when I get someone on the phone. Even if someone is dealing with a situation where we have to talk them down, I'd prefer to do that rather than send law enforcement or send an ambulance to their home. I would much rather talk that person through it, love that person through it, you know, be there for them, as opposed to saying, okay, I can't handle you, I'm going to go ahead and just call an ambulance, and I'm going to cause all this drama and cause all these issues that you're going to have for the next 24 hours. The last thing I want to do is hospitalize a person. I want to get them through it.
And so when you're working with, they have all those intentions, but through the intervention and through the spotlighting of their own strengths and their potential, I don't know if I'm so, I still have a hope for the future. You can work with an individual to potentially walk off that ledge or back away from that edge, and that's like our talk down call. Right. And that's still high acuity. They had all the intention of acting on something. However, through the intervention, we were able to get that. They were able to realize that they have something else to hope for, and they can stay safe for now. And that's, all of those interactions are wins, in my opinion, because the ultimate goal of this program is to help people through tough times.
I think the method is still there, you know, it's taking the time to understand the situation, understand the person, or the individual, so, you know, so to speak, and no two cases are the same. You know, with suicidality, you know, no two calls are the same. You know, not one person is going to call right after the other with the exact same signs and symptoms or the exact same issues that they're dealing with.
And that was my thing too, being afraid coming into the call center. I was like, how am I going to help somebody? And you fear the worst, and it's natural. We're all human. And we hear the word suicide, and the stigma around it is still being broken down. And so when you're first approaching that, it's, like I said, it's just anxiety inducing. So a lot of us still experience that, and I would be lying if I said I did it. You just never know, but you just have to believe in yourself and believe in the skill set you've got. And just remembering, a lot of individuals, they need a listening ear, and they need to know that somebody does care. And that's why we are here, because we do care. So we just let them know that, and we just always have to remind ourselves and our responder, just take it call by call.
I started off with, does anyone feel anxious when the phone rings? And yeah, right? Like it's just the understanding of, we don't know what that call is going to be. So understanding how to manage yourself. How can you regulate your own emotional space to be ready to receive whatever may come? And so being healthy and taking care of yourself is an important part of this work. You have to have healthy activities. You got to keep your mind sharp. You got to keep your body sharp. You got to do things that you love and enjoy to keep yourself refreshed and recharged through that. But also being aware and to yourself that this work is difficult, and I'm a person too. And I have my own emotions and physiological responses to stress. So how can I keep myself in a safe space or in a calm state to address that?
You know, I go to therapy, just like anyone else, because I have to maintain, you know, my own issues. I have to, you know, hold on to my own problems and not bring them, you know, to work. And so I do a brain dump every day, you know. I don't remember names. I don't like to remember situations. You know, all my notes, I shred them at the end of the day, so that's kind of like a ceremonial gesture for me. At the end of the day, is I shred my notes, even though it's for privacy for the clients. But for me, it's kind of like a brain dump. There's a little bit of a catharsis to it. I'm shredding my notes, I'm going home, and I'm going to brain dump, you know. So I usually sit out on the back porch, hang out with my dog a little bit, you know, and just enjoy the afternoon.
Understanding that this is the suicide and crisis lifeline, right? Or crisis line. There's all these types of crises. Understanding that people are having these thoughts of suicide is part of the job, right? And we're dealing with people on potentially their worst moments in life. You have to treat that with the care and respect and dignity and the gravity behind that, because it is the worst day of their life, or they're at a space where I don't know what to do. So after we go through that whole process of joining, hearing, and listening, to give you an example of something that goes picture perfect, It would be, I heard their story, we're validating their experience, and really got to that listening point, to that point where there's both trust and rapport both ways. So we have a connection, and having a connection with the crisis counselor has actually been shown, like that's what we call buffers to prevent suicide. It's a strong, at least in this moment, in this space, I feel that someone else is here for me. And that someone else is here for me when you're feeling all alone and potentially viewing like life is at the end is so powerful. And hope is one of the most powerful things that we can do across all spectrums, right?
The people that are calling on 988, I know that they're more than likely calling because they're feeling suicidal, or they're feeling like they don't want to live anymore, or they're feeling like, you know, I'm having these thoughts, I've never had them before, they're scaring me, please help. So, you know, yeah, you know, when you see that call coming through, you never know what it's going to be. So you do kind of brace yourself for it.
So our leads will schedule group debriefings, and they'll do it with random responders so that everyone gets a chance to be around everyone. But we'll go ahead and meet with them. And again, it's nice being in this nice building because we'll take them over to the conference room and then just discuss any hard calls, any positive calls, maybe any advice for some things you've heard in the call center or how somebody handled the call. Because really, we're just absorbing all of that from each other and learning from each other. Your style is just constantly evolving because, you know, hey, I heard this person handle it like this, or they said some things like this, and it was really just encouraging to the caller, and it was empowering, and I think I'm going to use that too and seeing how I can implement that into my styles.
The new front-facing number, 988, that law was passed, and it was to help. It's a three-prong approach. So 988, the vision is a number that's easily recognizable to the public. So if I'm in a crisis, it's really hard for me to remember what's that suicide prevention number, 1-800, too long. So something that's memorable. So that front-facing number, 988, easily identifiable. You can either call or text 988 and receive crisis, emotional suicide crisis help in the moment, in real time, right? So the second phase is that we're lucky enough that we have mobile crisis teams actually at Kingsview, and we're experts at this already. So someone to respond, so someone to call 988, someone to respond, potentially that's going out either with law enforcement or another mobile crisis response that helps meet the individual in real time in the field to potentially alleviate going to the hospital or causing iatrogenic harm, things that can potentially re-escalate. Want to de-escalate the potential of entering into the justice system unnecessarily.
So that's where David is working with Fresno PD, where he's been training dispatchers. If there is any type of emotional crisis or suicidal crisis or substance use crisis, and it's not requiring to use the resource of EMS or PD, the dispatchers are using a screening tool to then go ahead and transfer them over to us. And then on the phone, we'll go ahead and provide that support and build a safety plan and do follow-ups.
So looking at the future of 988, like we just met, or we're about to close in on 1 year, right? We're in the 1 year anniversary of the launch of 988. Understanding that it took a lot to get us here, and we still have a long way to go. The whole crisis continuum of care that is outlined in the 988 legislation and guiding principles of somewhere to call, someone to respond, and somewhere to go will really help enhance the network and the services that us as a community can provide to individuals in crisis. I'm thankful that Kingsview is in this position to be able to be a thought leader in this space.
Share the line with anyone and everyone. Kingsview does provide lots of great programs that I continue to learn about every day. So give it to all their existing clients. If they're out there in our outreach communities, please share the number. They can text or chat 988. The website is 988lifeline.org if they want to go on there and find any further information. But we appreciate all the support that we do get. We get to hear from lots of programs, our sister locations, even from more down south or up north. And it's really neat to see just the promotion of 988 that they're doing, which definitely, you know, it helps us because we're getting the word out there. And it's an easier number for everyone to remember. Yeah. And individuals, my biggest thing that I try to promote is individuals don't have to always be in a suicidal crisis. It could be a substance use crisis or any just emotional distress they're experiencing, anyone can reach out. Or even if they're concerned about a loved one and don't know the next step to take, they can reach out, give us a call or text us, and our responders will do everything they can to help them.
I feel very happy. And when I say happy, it's been a journey as I've seen this call center grow and our program grow and develop over the years. So I'm very grateful to be in this space and have seen and witnessed and help drive us, or help steer the ship this way per se. We have a lot of work to do, and there's a lot more to come. But as these services expand, I feel like we're in a great position to help continue to lead and serve.